Behold, I am the King of Charmanders, and this is the thickest chicken that's a dragon, and it's a cloud, and I don't know who designed Altaria. I'm just gonna say, like, it was actually, like, one of my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon. The blue chicken looks really cute. At the same time, how is it a dragon? No, seriously, how is this thing a dragon? Like, I can't see it. Like, it's a chicken. It's a flying chicken, but it breathes fire, and it's a dragon. At first, I thought it was just, like, some normal type, which technically it was, because it's blue, but then, like, you know, it's a dragon. Anyways, it's a dragon. So, yeah. Behold Altaria. I don't need to make much of an introduction to this thing. It's a blue albatross of doom that is actually one of the bulkiest dragons in all of Go Battle League. That's for Great League. For Ultra League, it's actually really interesting. Now, where Altaria gets really interesting, it actually stands as the most powerful dragon in Ultra Premier. Ironically, despite the fact it doesn't max out at 2500, it actually maxes out at 2266 at level 50. Yes, you need a hundo and a perfect, but you know, Swablu's been out for a while, so you might have hatched one or found one in the wild already. So the thing about Altaria that makes it really interesting, it's a giant tank, like I said. If you thought it was tanking Great League and Ultra League, it's still tanky, and it actually stands as the strongest dragon in the Ultra Premier Cup at level 50, which is really ironic. Now the thing about this dragon is that you must be careful of ice. Like, ice, ice, baby? No, it's ice, ice, you're dead. That's what happens. So, avoid ice at all costs, because Dragon and Flying does not like ice types, so Obama Snow says hi, and guess what? That snowball's gonna do a lot of damage to you. Anyways, you are weak to Dragon, Fairy, Ice, and Rock. So you are weak to Charmers as well as Dragon Breath users. So you must avoid those at all costs. Same thing in Great League, same warnings in Ultra League. You do resist, however, a great number of typings. You resist all of the elemental typings, which is why Dragon is so good. You also resist Bug and fighting types due to the flying typing, as well as ground and grass. So you have a really, really good, like, a lot of things in this meta are very, very, like, these typings, as you see here, they're very prevalent in Ultra Premier. That's why Altaria is so interesting. Yes, the dragon typing and the flying typing is very interesting. You see it like Dragonites, etc., but, like, that combination actually does really well in this cup for Ultra Premier. However, like I mentioned before, this thing doesn't max out near 2500, so the fact that's literally the most powerful dragon in Ultra Premier overall is really interesting. As you see, it sports the typical Dragon Breath, the most overpowered fast move in the game as far as sheer damage goes. Dragon Breath will take your elo faster than you thought it would. It has Sky Attack as Dragon Pulse. It also has Dazzling Gleam, so it has a pretty versatile moveset. So for this analysis, I'm going to look at both Sky Attack, Dragon Pulse, as well as Dazzling Gleam, because Dazzling Gleam actually is really interesting. I believe Dazzling Gleam can give you some coverage or some chance against dark types, etc. Because Dragon Pulse, I don't see any reason why you need Dragon Pulse, because Dazzling Gleam can kill dragons anyways, but we'll see exactly what we can do with Altaria in the Matrix. Alright, here we have the Ultra Premier Cup rankings, Ultra League, and as you see here, I don't even need to scroll down. Altaria ranks at number 6. So, as you see here in the top 10, there is no other Dragon Breath user but Altaria. Altaria is the strongest Dragon Breath user in Ultra Premier. Ironically, when I did the pre-analysis, I was like, wait, what, how? Because, you know, it's funny, you died a Dragonite. Oh boy, so I was very dumbfounded by the fact that Altaria XL is in the top 10, because Dragonite's a very good mon in Ultra Premier. However, compared to Dragonite, Altaria tops it, and I'm not sure why. However, if you look at Altaria, it's actually really strong in every category, particularly the lead and closer. It's a strong charger, and it's a powerful attacker. So it must be due to the fact that Altaria does max out at 50, it's a level 50, so it maxes out at its level, so it gains the full stat product. Which is kind of interesting, because it's, compared to everything else on this list, it's kind of under level. Like, CP-wise, it doesn't look that threatening, but it actually kills a lot of things. As you see, you beat a lot of the elemental Pokemon, Venusaur, Charizard, Swampert, Excavalier. Well, Excavalier technically is an elemental, but you know, yeah. And now the thing about it is that you do beat Galley, so you beat other fighters as well, thanks to its flying typing. It's able to effectively, like, it's basically Galley versus Dragonite in a thicker blue bird body. That's basically what Altaria is. Unless it's solid gold, because you have a shiny one. In other words, if you have a Shundoed Altaria, I'm very jealous of you. And chicken nuggets is a great meal, and it looks really good. Anyways, for its key losses, you do lose against other Dragonites. You also lose against Steel types users, and of course, Gyarados beats you because for some odd reason, Gyarados with Dragon Breath actually beats other dragons, even though it doesn't get stabbed from Dragon Breath. Because that's such high attack. And you're also weak to Dragon Breath, while Gyarados is not weak to Dragon Breath, which is really ironic. Anyways, you also lose against Alolan and Lapras, so you do get outpaced by some things, and Alolan to can still chunk you down because of those Dark Pulses. Also, there's no... I don't even need to explain to you why you die so hard to Lapras, because it's an... Remember I told you, Altaria doesn't like ice. And you will get sent to the next Ice Age if you see a Lapras in the lead. Or if you get locked into one, those ice shards are going to feel really... Not really, it's going to be really cold. So for Altaria, in the lead, it's the number 23 lead. As you see, it's not in the top 10, but like it definitely beats a lot. It basically beats all the elemental leads here. You also have a strong chance against Swamperts, all the fighters, because it's a flying type. In the closer, Altaria is really interesting because it doesn't rank in the top 10 either. Actually, it does rank in the top 10. It doesn't rank in the top 5, but it ranks in like the top 10. So basically, it's able to close out very well in this meta. It's able to take out, like I mentioned, all the elemental users, fighters, and the bug/steel type users. However, you do lose to Lapras. Tangrowth does bury you underneath a bunch of rocks. Togekiss is high. Amok still wipes you out with its poison... with its poison or whatever it decides to throw at you. Double Sludge Wave hurts. And Driplim's Icy Winds suck. Basically anything with charge moves that do have ice elements, or if they are ice Pokemon themselves, in the closer will kill Altaria, because it's double weak to ice. Unless you have chip damage, and then you are able to nuke them to death. However, for the Switch, Altaria isn't preferred as a Switch, number 29. You could probably throw it in the back as, like, to something that's weak. For example, you have Charizard. If you have, like, let's see, you have a Charizard lead, they throw Swampert into you, you can throw Altaria to them because you have a really strong rating. So Altaria does have use. If you throw it into a positive matchup, you'll be fine. But it's very powerful. It's actually the number 6 as far as an attacker goes. It does an obscene amount of damage, and like I said, it's very likely due to the fact because Altaria is able to max out its stat pool compared to all the other attackers. As you see here, it ranks high even beating out Clefable, which is the top charmer, Skarmory, and it's like up there with Clefable, with Charmers, etc. So it's a very interesting mon as far as like damage output goes. Of course, because Dragon Breath is overpowered. Alright, here's my favorite part of the video, the peeppoke.com matrix, because we get to play around. This is where you get to learn what we kill and what kills us. Of course, Ice is going to kill us a lot, so you better bank on you're not going to beat Abomasnow. Anyways, if you'd like to donate to peeppoke.com, you're able to, please consider doing so. I have Altaria here at level 50. I also have level 51, and I have a level 50 with Dazzling Gleam. So we'll look at Dazzling Gleam. I also put the level 41 in here. I know that's not really needed, but it's good to see why, like, if level 40 versus 50 does flip things. Just for science. If you're wondering why, like, we'll figure it out. As you see, we're going to pull the 2 shield. As you see here, we're going to run the 2 shield. So Altaria is a very powerful lead. Also powerful as a closer. So, in the lead, remember what I mentioned? You're not going to beat Abomasnow because it hurts a lot. So, you beat Ampharos. So, it looks like, you're going to lose against Obama just because of those, just because of ice. The Powder Snow sucks, so any Powder Snow is going to give you a rough time. Ampharos over here, as you see, if you look at it right here, you actually beat it, but it's a very iffy matchup. Very iffy. You live with, let's see, how you win all scenarios unless Ampharos has shield advantage. I'm not sure why you lose with the other ones. This is level 51. What happens to level 50? So just out of curiosity. So Ampharos, is there a bulk point I don't know about? Or is there like a bulk or break point? So it looks like level 51 can flip an Ampharos matchup, which is actually really big. Okay, so... Okay, let's see. So Volt Switch does 9 damage. What does it do versus this one? So I'm just trying to figure out the bulk and break point. It does 9. Okay, so it does 9 damage too, so why do you die? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Do you lose CMP? No, you don't lose CMP. It gets the Thunder Punch. It punches you down to death. And you live with the level 50. That's what's strange. You live with the level 51 variation. Dragon Breath, Dragon Breath, Dragon Breath. You double up. So you block both Thunder Punches. You double up. Oh, the Dragon Breath damage. Okay, so if you're up again, I'm not sure if this is like a breakpoint dependent. So that's 4 Dragon Breath. Yeah, oh, so there's a bullet there. That's why. So at level 51, there's actually a bulk / breakpoint with Dragon Breath. So level 51 does 1 more damage, which kind of is interesting. That's why I was like, what? So if you looked why, there's actually some kind of bulk or breakpoint with Dragon Breath, so you'll do 1 more damage, and that 1 damage adds up to where you actually take out Ampharos at level 51. Now let's see if Ampharos has like really good IV, so let's assume that Ampharos is like probably like a 0-15-15, let's assume that. If we hit battle still, Ampharos wins. Okay, so there is a bulk or breakpoint here, which is really interesting. I'm not sure which defense, so let's see. Let's play around with it a little bit. So 12, if you have 12 defense, Ampharos wins. 12, 0, 12. Okay, so if it's a good IV, Ampharos, this is an IV dependent matchup. So generally you will lose against Ampharos. However, depending on IVs, Dragon Breath actually has a breakpoint at level 51. So this is a very scientific matchup. Generally, just assume you will lose against Ampharos, because in a battle, unless you see your opponent's IVs, there's no way you can tell if you win this matchup. So get some practice, figure it out, or if I were you, just imagine you lose against Ampharos. Just lose against, like, just assume you do. It's a lot safer than staying in and not knowing that breakpoint, because you might lose. You lose against Charizard, you also lose against Charmer, so always avoid Charmers. You're also going to lose against Driplim because of Icy Wind. You beat Dragonite and Shadow Dragonite. So you beat both of the dragons in the 2 shields. The Shadow and the regular Dragonite. You also beat Empoleon. Wow, that's actually really good. So you beat Empoleon in 2 shield? That's really good. Empoleon's a very popular Ultra Premier pick. That's just very surprising to me. That you do beat it in 2s, which is really good. You beat Excavalier, you beat Exado, Exeggutor. You lose against Gallade. I think you have to call it close. Well, why do you lose against Gallade? Because you resist both Leaf Blade and Close Combat. Is this a bait-dependent matchup? So if you eat the Leaf Blade, so 3 Confusions eats Leaf Blade. So if you don't shield the Leaf Blade, but you shield the CC, I'm assuming Gallade wins in 69 seconds. Not today, Sir Night Gallade. Altaria wins as long as you eat a Leaf Blade. So you eat a Leaf Blade, then you can double shield after that. Just don't let it CC you. If you can do this, as you see, you will win. So this is a bait-dependent matchup with Gallade. Shadow Gallade, you'll beat it just because Dragon Breath just chunks at Shadow Gallade because of the Dragon Breath damage. Because you lose the defense, that Dragon Breath damage is enough to take you out. Now, as you see for Shadow, there is differences between the level 40 and 50. As you see, without the level 51, you will lose against Dragonite, and you also lose against Exeggutor. Basically, you lose a ton of matchups that you will, so the level 50 does actually matter. Now, oh, wow, that's really good. So you beat so you beat Gengar as well. Dragon Breath takes down Gengar. You also beat Kingdra, which is huge because Kingdra, yeah, that's pretty huge. Being able to beat Kingdra. The issue with Kingdra is you have to shield Outrage, or Outrage will likely KO you. So you have to shield. You also, if it does get the Octazooka debuff, it might flip this matchup as well. So just be very careful. You beat Machamp, but you don't win against Shadow Champ. This is a very, very close matchup. I think this is you'll win if you have level 50, but okay, so you can eat a Rock Slide. So you can still eat a Rock Slide and then double shield. So you can be a little risky here. Like you can call, like for example, you could still eat a Cross Chop, and then you can shield everything else, or you can play this how you want. In other words, this is very big. You actually live a Rock Slide from a champ. You don't live against a Rock Slide against Shadow Champ because the Shadow damage adds up. But you live against regular one, so that's a really good matchup. You lose against Magnezone, sadly, because Dragon Breath is resisted by Steel. You also lose against Poliwrath and Scizor. Anything with Ice is basically going to end your life. So Ice and whatever resist Dragon Breath, such as Scizor, and because Bullet Punches, yeah. It's gonna hurt a lot. You do beat Obstagoon and you do beat Amux. So Obstagoon, so you do beat, it's very interesting how Altaria does beat a lot of the meta. Unfortunately, you do lose against Tangrowth. Tangrowth is able to, those rock, it can just straight rock slide you to death, I believe. So be very careful about Tangrowth as well as Togekiss. Avoid Charmers, avoid Tangrowth, and you will have a very happy life. Otherwise, you beat Snorlax, you also beat Swampert, Toxicroak, and Venusaur. So it's very, so as you see, the level 50 does matter. It does flip matchups that level 40 won't. And the stat, it's very, yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting. Again, be careful the Ampharos one and just avoid Ice, avoid Ampharos. But other than that, you beat every other Dragon Breath user. So that's really good with Altaria and the 2-Shield. You will beat every other Dragon Breath user, which is really good. Except, before I go, let's take a look. Before we leave the 2-Shield, let's take a look and see if you still win. If it gets the debuff. Okay, so it gets debuff, so... Oh, this is huge. So if you look at the simulator, even if they do get the debuff, you'll still win. As you see here. So you will still win this matchup. Which is pretty huge. Yeah. You'll still win even if you get debuffed. Because if you look at the damage output, Altaria will actually do more damage than I guess it's the tankiness. Altaria does have more bulk than Kingdra does, so it actually wins even with a debuff. That's pretty huge. Again, it's a Dragon Breath user that convincingly beats all other Dragon Breath users except for Gyarados. Except for Gyarados. Unfortunately, Gary does take you out, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so we looked at the 2-Shield, we did what... So it's not a surprise Altaria is really powerful. It actually beats a lot of, like, the pure the Dragon types, and it's very strong. The 1-Shield, I'm not too... Okay, so in the 1-Shield, you actually beat Ampharos, but not in the 2s, because it gets the Thunder Punches quickly. You beat Blaziken, you also are able to beat Charizard in a 2-Shield. You still lose against Clefable. This is where it gets dicey. So it looks like in the 1-Shield, you lose against Dragonite. You also lose against Empoleon. So once you start getting an even shield, once you start getting down shields, it starts getting a little dicier. As you see here, you're actually able to take out Shadow Gallade in the 1s at level 51. I'm not sure if this is related to, like, okay, is it Dragon Breath damage? Let's see here. So if you Dragon Breath down... So you could still eat a CC, which is pretty nuts. So Altaria could still eat a close combat in the 1s, as you see here, and you could still double Sky Attack. But I think the reason why you live is because there is a bulk point that literally... So this is a close matchup with Shadow Gallade, but there is literally a bulk point. If you shield the close combat, you're fine. But if you don't have a level 51, depending on what turn it is, you can beat it. So it's really interesting. You'll beat regular Gallade, but Shadow Gallade, you only beat it with a level 51. Close combat literally leaves you in 1 HP in a Dreamland. So this is a very baity matchup with Shadow Gallade. You still beat Kingdra in the 1s. You lose against Gengar this time, though, because Shadow Ball will suck if it hits. You beat Machamp. You lose against Shadow Champ because of the Rock Slide. So I think this is... I don't know if this is bait dependent here. So for Shadow Champ with level 50, if you call the Rock Slide. So that's the interesting thing about the 1s whenever it comes to a one-shot mon like Machamp. If it hits you with the Rock Slide, you win. If you call the Rock Slide, you win. Or if you don't call it, you lose. As you see, the Rock Slide, it is a bait-dependent matchup. Magnezone just is going to beat you just because it does resist your Dragon Breaths, and Wild Charge hurts. A lot. You will lose against... So you're going to lose against Alolan Muck, I think. Can it eat a Sludge Wave? That's a big question. How much HP do you lose by? Okay, so this is a very close matchup. So this one's really stressful because you have to shield the Sludge Wave. So in order for you to win this matchup, you need to call the Sludge Wave. So the close matchups like here where you see Alolan Muck has like a 484, these are bait dependent. Same thing with Scizor. So Scizor, the reason why you lose is because Iron Head goes through. However, if you shield the Iron Head instead of the Night Slash, you can actually win. So if you shield the Iron Head instead of the Night Slash, you can still win. As you see in 69 seconds, which is the greatest timing of all time. There's no contesting it. But the issue is if they do boost, you die. Yeah, if they boost, you die. Apply both sides debuffs and you lose. So one boost can flip this matchup. So you can win against close ratings like this is very baity. So be careful of Altaria. You're able to beat Slowbro. You're also able to beat Snorlax. Swamperts, just because you do resist Hydro, you pretty much wall it and Sludge Wave doesn't do enough damage to take you out, even if they have Sludge Wave versus Earthquake. In this scenario, you can actually beat Tangrowth pretty comfortably. It looks like you can survive Rock Slides. Yeah, so you'll get to 2 Sky Attacks before they hit 2 Rock Slides. And that's GG's. If they do have an energy lead here, they can probably kill you because Rock Slide does enough damage. So if you're in even shield scenarios, you can. But if they have an energy lead, they can actually take out your Altaria. So keep that in mind. You beat Toxicroak and you also beat Venusaur. However, you do lose against Charmers. So that's just a general thing about dragons. Dragons will generally lose against Charmers unless you lead them down shields and then you finish them with the one-shot move. Alright, so we did the 2s, we did the 1s, now we're going to do the 0s. So the closer Altaria is pretty strong as well. And we hit the closing scenario. And as you see here, in the closer, you're actually able to beat Ampharos. Now, it doesn't... You're going to lose against Ice types and Charmers, so it looks like it's already looking like, oh, okay. As far as, like, Obama, Uncle Fable go, yeah. So you're going to lose against Dragonite, so it looks like level 51 has a breakpoint of some sort. Bulk or breakpoint. Okay, so with a level 51, you do 6 Dragon Breath worth of damage versus a level 50. What happens here? Level 50. Oh, no, it still does it. Then what happens? Oh, is it a bulk point? I'm confused. So you live with... Their Dragonite will live with... oh, it's Dragon Claw. Okay, so how do you beat it with a level 51? Level 51, level 51. How does a level 51 take it down? So it does 6 damage. So it might be the Sky Attack. So the thing about Dragon Breath Years is in a mirror, it's very like bulk and breakpoint. It's very weird. As you see here against the Shadow one, it looks like you don't ever get to a Sky... Why don't you Sky Attack, though? Oh! So there's something here. Okay, so it makes sense now. With the Altaria versus Shadow Dragonite, which is kind of relevant because Shadow Dragonite's a lot... Like, you see regular one around, but you see the other... But you see, like... the other one around, the regular version and the shadow version, but you see shadows too, so this is a good thing to note in the closer. If you have a level 51, you actually live, you have that extra HP you get, I think, allows you to live where you get a Sky Attack off. You won't get a Sky Attack off with the level 50 version because you die to the Dragon Breaths that come through. One turn fast moves are OP, and when you get the mirror with Dragon Breath, it's basically what Pokemon you have, your IVs do matter. As you see here, and because we're already maxed out, we can't do anything fancy like Attack Weight Altaria or something like that. Anyways, you beat Empoleon, you beat Scavalier, you beat Exeggutor, Gallade, Gengar, Kingdra, so you beat most of other Dragon Breath users as well. You'll beat Machamp at this point, so you can Sky Attack it to death. You will still lose against Magnezone because it resists your Dragon Breath. And here's another interesting thing about level 51. So level 51 is actually able to flip the Amok matchup. So let's see here. Of course, these are very IV dependent. Just because you win it on the sim, that doesn't mean if they had better IVs, for example. That's a 5-11. If we do, let's say 15-15 or 0-15-13, if we do something like that. If we manipulate it a little bit, yes, Amok wins in this one. It will win. Altaria can win. See how some things like do flip around, etc, etc, etc. So there are like IV, like these are very close. But the reason why does Altaria win against Amok? Okay, so it's because you could get 2 Sky Attacks off and you live with 1 HP. That's such... So if they get a Snarl in at any given point, you will lose this match. Yeah, that's it. You live with 1 HP. So you literally so level 51 gives you that little bit of HP you need to flip the Amok matchup as well as the Shadow Dragonite matchup. Now, of course, this is very situational. If this Amok gets a Snarl through, you will lose that match because that Snarl damage that comes through is going to hurt. So, those can flip with, like, 1 mistake or, like, with 1 fast move going through. It happens. But knowing that you can beat them is still a really good thing that you can beat them. You beat Obstagoon. You lose against Poliwrath because Ice Punch. You beat Scizor because you can Sky Attack it to death. You beat Snorlax. You lose against Slowbro because Ice Beam sucks. That's pretty funny. An Ice Beam from a Slowbro will hurt you because you're double weak to it. You lose against Tangrowth because of the Avalanches, and you lose against Togekiss because of a Charmer. So in the no shield, Altaria is pretty dang strong. Generally, like I mentioned before, just don't match it against what it's weak against, i.e. anything with ice, or if it resists your Dragon Breaths. Amok as well. Amok can take out your level 50 Altaria, but generally you might be able to squeeze out a W. You might be able to, but like I said, these matchups with Dragonite, Shadow Dragonite, and with Amok are very IV specific. It's a lot of homework. Because if you even have one bit of chip damage, you're going to lose that match anyway. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. In the 1-0s, you still lose against Ice types and Charmers, but it looks like you beat up the rest of the meta. And Magnezone, because it resists your Dragon Breaths. So you win against you, yeah. So it looks like interesting enough in the 1-0s, this is where like level 50 to 40 doesn't seem to matter too much. As you see, you do happen to be Poliwrath. I mean, you do lose against Poliwrath. The thing is, it doesn't look like DG actually does anything for you. So Dazzling Gleam doesn't really... Let's go back to the zeros real quick. And then we're just going to look at Obstagoon. So it doesn't look like it really matters per se. As you see here, you will one-shot it with Dazzling Gleam with the Dragon Breath damage. But it doesn't look like Dazzling Gleam actually flips anything for you. As you see here on all the ratings, or like any winning matchup or losing matchup, Dazzling Gleam doesn't really matter. So our Dazzling Gleam Altaria doesn't really do much, unfortunately. So since we did the 1-0s, we're going to do the 2-0s, and then the 2-0s, you only lose against Togekiss and Clefable. Why do you lose against Lapras? Because you should theoretically win. Altaria goes straight Dragon Pulse Sky Attack. Okay, why do you lose against this Lapras? That doesn't make any sense. Skull Bash. You shield the skull... Wait, why? That doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. You should... Okay, so this sim, the one you see here... Oh, it's because it's baiting. So, yeah, it's because it's not using Skull Bash. So if they go straight Skull Bash, you lose. So this isn't a winning matchup. If you see something like, if you run a Matrix and you see something like this, it's because the AI doesn't like register, or it doesn't like patch out results well. The reason why you're losing against, in this scenario, you'll lose against this Lapras. The reason you'll lose in the 2-0s is that if it goes straight Skull Bash, Lapras can just farm you down. So don't rely on this. You lose this. If the level 51 loses and the level 50 wins, unless it's like CMP or some specific bulk or breakpoint, there's really no point. So for Magnezone, you do beat Magnezone in the 2-0s because you could block those wild charges. So you beat everything but Togekiss and Clefable. So just the Charmers. So in the 2-0s. The 2-1s, what do we get? In the 2-1s, you're going to lose against the Ice types and Charmers. And Magnezone. Generally, Magnezone's in there just because of Wild Charge. So you beat everything but the Charmers and Togekiss and Clefable, Obama Snow, and Magnezone. So 5 matchups. So it turns from the 2-1s, you only lose against the Charmers. And that turns from 2 matchups to 5 matchups. So that's still not bad. It's still very, very powerful. The only issue is, of course, you have to watch out for Magnezone, but other than that, Altaria covers a lot of bases in all scenarios. It's a very good, it's very powerful. Especially against, like, fighters, the elemental users. I can see it having a bunch of play if you use one for Ultra Premier. Alright, level 50 XL Altaria gets a 9 out of 10 for me. I can't give it a 10 because Charmers just destroy it too hard. Even if you're in the 2-shield scenario, Charmers still wreck your soul, as you see here. There's no way out. You literally get charmed down in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you have a nuke move, you might come out of this. So let's assume the 2-0s, or if you're in the 0 shield. Because this is how you beat a lot of Charmers. If you played Master Premier, what happens is that you get you get Hurricane off on a Togekiss and it KOs. That's what a lot of scenarios happen. So if you have 100 energy, well, not 100. Let's assume like 30. Let's assume 40 energy. Okay, so you need to come out of this matchup with a minimum of 60. So yeah. So it doesn't. One Hurricane isn't enough. If you look over here, you need to actually hurricane. You need enough energy to hurricane 3 times. Or there. Wait, why does it shield? You're not supposed to have a shield. Oh, you shield. Yeah, you actually need you need a ton of energy because you won't take out Togekiss, unfortunately. So that's what the limit. The Altaria doesn't have an out versus Charmers. That's why I give it a 9 out of 10. Altaria is bulky, it's powerful, it's able to beat all the elemental user. It even has some outs at level 51, so I give it a high rating. It's also very easy to use. So Altaria isn't super hard to use, it's very generic and very easy. You Sky Attack or Dragon Pulse things to Oblivion, and you Dragon Breath everything. And I'd say the only difficulty is you do need a Hundo, unfortunately. So Hundo Altaria, but with Swablu's availability, that's not even like a thing for my. It's been out for so long, you likely have a Hundo Swablu sitting around your inventory, and you're thinking about using it. Then this is perfect. Anyways, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's a 9 out of 10, only because you just don't have it out against Charmers. Other than that, like you see here, easy to use, very powerful against elementals and against Machamp. You just have to watch out for Magnezone, etc. But you can still beat Magnezone. You can beat everything, but there is an out against everything but Charmers per se. You have to avoid Magnezone, and you have to avoid Magnezone and and Charmers. But other than that, you're it's looking Altaria's looking pretty good for Ultra Premier. However, versus the 50 versus 51, 50 does fine. 51 only for specific scenarios, particularly against Ampharos and against Alolan Muck, but that's just way too specific. So don't even worry about that. Level 50 will do you just fine. The level 51's probably best used for your other Pokemon in the other 2 back row, if you plan on using an Altaria for Ultra Premier. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. I will see you guys on the next one, and good luck on your Go Battle League set.